Hello, welcome to Take 10 on Tuesdays with the Tennessee Tribune. I'm Sandra Longweaver, the editorial director for the Tennessee Tribune, and today our guest is Sharon Travis, who is the Prevention and Community Engagement Specialist of the Sexual Assault Center. And we wanted to have a conversation because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So tell us a little bit about what that means and tell us a little bit about the Sexual Assault Center.
Okay. Well, Sexual Assault Awareness Month is, I don't even know how long it's been around. It's been a minute. And it's an opportunity for people who do this work to get the message out about what sexual assault is, to take this topic that's kind of hard to talk about and create some space where we can kind of have some safe and continuous conversations about how we can kind of decrease the numbers. So what we do at the Sexual Assault Center is provide education and counseling and advocacy for people who have been sexually assaulted and their non-offending family members.
And they're non-offending family members.
Right. We cannot work with offenders because you can't put offenders and survivors in the same space. Right. But we recognize the need to work with offenders, but we just know we can't do both sides.
So, how is sexual assault defined? When you say sexual assault, I'm thinking rape. Does it go beyond rape?
That's part
of
it.
Okay.
Yes, it goes beyond rape.
Okay.
It's rape. It's molestation. It's sexting, and all the other crimes that come with technology.
Oh, sexting. So harassing someone on the cell phone or through email or however.
It's that, and if it's minors, it's considered child pornography. If it's either minors being depicted or minors who are receiving it, and if it's in any way going through the airwaves and minors that get access to it, that's child pornography. It's exposing. It could be exposure, so it's not necessarily somebody actually touching you, but if you expose minors to pornography, or if you expose yourself to people, so kind of flashing. What we used to call that, streaking back in the day?
Yeah, a little while ago it was called streaking. That's right, on college campuses.
And so when we're actually talking about the things that happen, it's one thing, but there's also an atmosphere that things can happen in that also can make it sexual assault. Harassment would be sexual assault as well. And so it could be either by force. It can be, it's not always force. It could be coercion. It could be exposure. So it could be due to a lack of capacity. Maybe the person who is being assaulted is mentally challenged, and you're taking advantage in terms of power. It could be a power dynamic if it's a teacher or a coach and a student, even if they're adults. It's the power dynamic that's involved.
Wow.
And so I think the most important thing that we really need to understand about what sexual assault is that it's not about sex, but it's about power, control, domination, and manipulation.
Okay.
And in any way that those things intersect, it can create a situation where you're violating the law.
It sounds like it. So what kinds of, and the Sexual Assault Center is located in Metro?
It's located in Metro Center. And so if you're like me, you need food places as a landmark. So we're right behind the Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
And what we do there, again, is provide counseling, education, and advocacy. So let me talk a little bit about our therapists. We have about 13 master's level therapists on board, and they have a variety of different expertise. Now, we only deal with the one subject. We don't deal with domestic violence. We only deal with the sexual violence aspect of it.
Okay.
And we have some therapists who have been there for over 20 years who have
goodness.
only dealt with this one topic. So their expertise is very deep. We have pet therapists, play therapists, art therapists, we have hypnotherapists, and they also do whatever the best practices are in therapy.
And you see men, women, and children?
We see everybody. Now, about 50% of our clients are children, unfortunately, and fortunately at the same time. The good thing
because
about
they're getting help.
Yes, at least we know that they're in there and they're getting help sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on our adult side, the other 50%, about 75% of those clients were assaulted when they were children. So we know a lot of this is rooted in childhood. And so the sooner that we are able to get people in the door and begin the treatment process, the better. So
Okay.
it's a whole lot easier for a child to heal and go through the process than it is for an adult who's been in denial for 30 years and who is just now coming to a place of understanding that their coping mechanisms are not healthy. So we really like to strongly encourage, if it is childhood sexual abuse, come on and get the help now.
And referrals, you get walk-ins, you get referrals from the justice system, or where?
Our referrals come from everywhere.
Mhm.
Our children, a lot of them are DCS referrals.
Mhm.
But one thing I do want to say is that we don't turn anybody away for inability to pay.
Oh,
We have
That's
grants.
good to know.
Yeah. We have we take insurance, and we have a sliding fee scale.
okay.
So whatever your situation, whatever your financial situation is, will not alter the treatment plan.
Good.
We're going to treat you the same way regardless of whether you have insurance or whether you're on the VOCA grant.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And now I know this month at Tennessee State University you have a Clothesline Project
Yes.
that's on exhibition. So tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, the Clothesline Project is actually a kind of a national initiative, and I believe it started in 1999 in Massachusetts, where survivors used that as an expression for, as part of their healing process by
Mhm.
creating T-shirts that kind of told their own story.
Ah,
And so at the Sexual Assault Center, we have our clients do similar things, so that when you're looking at the Clothesline Project, you're looking at people's actual stories, and it's very interesting to see it in that way, because it's not as intimidating as someone talking to you, but you're seeing their story,
mm-hmm.
and it's very you could be dealing with someone who's in the beginning of their healing process
Mm-hmm.
versus someone who's at the end, and how their shirt looks is very different. In the beginning, it might see a lot of red, a lot of anger,
I see.
a lot of the trauma still being fresh.
Mm-hmm. So they can do a number of shirts then
Mhm.
over a period of time.
Oh, they can if they like.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, but it's up to the client.
But it's usually just typically one, and we're just catching people at different parts of the process.
Okay.
It may be easier for someone in the beginning of their trauma to do their shirt, where for somebody else it might be easier for them to do it in the middle
Mm-hmm.
as they continue on. Or someone who says, okay, I'm free, I want to do my shirt and I'm ready now. So we don't necessarily pick that time and space. We allow them to have that space and time
Okay.
to determine what's best.
Are there any other activities on other college campuses?
Oh yeah, we have we have a peer education group, a college peer education group of Middle Tennessee students
Mm-hmm.
from about 7 different colleges in the area.
Yes.
So what we do is we train these students in the beginning of the year,
Mm-hmm.
because what we were finding is that we weren't able to keep up with all of the requests that were coming in for speakers on college campuses, especially with all the new Title IX mandates.
Yes.
And so, and that's kind of mandates colleges to do better jobs in prevention and reporting around sexual assault, and their funding is tied to that.
Oh,
So,
I see. I didn't realize that. Okay.
yes. So with that extra pressure,
Mhm.
also created, for in a good way for us, more opportunities to speak on college campuses. So we weren't able to keep up with the demand for presentations on college campuses. So the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence and myself decided, hey, let's get together and create a mechanism where we're training students on campus to respond to some of these requests.
Mm-hmm.
So they're equipped with the information and skills that they need to be able to have, just conversations like we're having today
Okay.
about this issue. And so we do these ongoing trainings, and the only thing that we ask them to do in return is to create some type of awareness event on their campus. And they have really taken that charge seriously.
Oh, great.
And so many of our schools have multiple events. TSU, I think, has at least three, four, maybe 5 different events going on this month. I know Austin P has a calendar of events that started in February. TTU also has a calendar of events that they have going on, as does Belmont. So,
and I think one of the events is called Denim Day, which I just learned about. I didn't know, and it's an international event. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Denim Day was started in response to a woman who was sexually assaulted and the judge making comments about her jeans being too tight and kind of using that to blame the victim. And so it created such an outcry that Denim Day came up as a result of that. Many of our schools are also doing the Take Back the Night events too. I know a couple of them are doing that. So that's another national kind of program. Another one that's kind of kicking off that's kind of new. Denim Day's been around for a while. Take Back the Night's been around for a while. But there's one I'm kind of really excited about because it has some ability to create some awareness that will change some of the unhealthy dynamics we have about responding to sexual assault. And that one is called Start by Believing Day. And I think it started on April the 4th. And so
it's a national movement.
Yeah, it's
not
another
just here
one.
in Tennessee.
Yes, it's another national movement. And so what we know about survivors is that typically they only disclose one time, and if they're not believed and supported, they never come forward and get the help that they need. Whereas an offender offends about 297 times before they're caught the first time.
One person offends
about 297 times before they're caught the first time.
Wow.
And so what we typically see are situations where people don't want to believe the victim. Now I'll use Bill Cosby as an example. Not that I'm casting any type of...
We're taking a position.
Yeah, I'm not taking a position on his guilt or innocence because I think he has enough money to handle that part of it, okay, whichever way it falls out. But what does concern me when I look like on my news feed on Facebook and I hear the comments about these 50 women lying, okay, and why didn't they come forward sooner? Why did they wait so long? And
that's true.
All of these comments.
There's a lot of discussion about that.
Yes. And then I look at the stats that tell me the average offender offends 297 times, so his behavior is not outside the realm of possibility. And typically, a survivor will only tell once. If she's not believed or supported, she'll go away. So the fact that they haven't came forth before is also typical. What we also know about trauma is that it affects the brain in a way that scatters information around. That when you're traumatized, you have a alarm in your brain called the amygdala alarm. So when your amygdala goes off, your frontal lobe, which is where you store information and memory and organize your thoughts, all those thoughts are scattered. So it's like it takes it and just blows up the file and everything scatters all over the frontal lobe. And so it's very typical that when somebody has been assaulted, especially if you've been drugged, that you're not going to have complete recollection. And it may be years. You get a piece here, you get a piece there. If you're not asked the questions in the right way
to put it all together.
To put it together. And so as the other women began to come forward, then I could see where some other women would begin to kind of reorganize their thoughts. And so how this happened and what that looks like is very, very typical. But these are the things that people use to discount the women. And so my real concern with these women is not about Bill Cosby, but it's about the other people who have had this happen to them and they've never told. And how we respond to these 50 women who said they've been assaulted sends a message to these other people who are carrying around this pain.
Then maybe I still don't need to tell anyone at this point.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that's
And what is this? What the day again is called?
Start by Believing.
Start by Believing.
Yes.
And do you know the date?
Well, it started on April 4th, but it
So
runs
we'll
through the
do it
whole month.
Through the entire month.
And the other thing that we see with our children, when they come in and they're working with them, one of the things that they typically say is, I didn't think I would be believed or supported. And that's why I didn't
Children
tell.
say that as well. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a serious event. Are you starting to see the numbers change in any way? Are they going down?
Well, we're starting to see more disclosures.
More disclosures.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think more disclosures means better awareness and creating a better environment for people to come forth and tell.
Mm-hmm. And is this a larger issue in the African American community? I know you see people from all backgrounds.
I think in the African American community, we still have a lot more work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other communities are more willing to go and do the counseling part and the therapy part. We still have some aversions to counseling and therapy,
Right.
and for good reason, because systems don't treat us the same.
Right.
And so when you come in and have these conversations, there is this kind of cultural memory that this system is not going to treat me fairly. I don't want to only tell this much because I don't want to bring this system into the process.
Right.
So there's a
other
whole
issues that are connected.
And we also have a different historical context with the issue than anybody else does. Because for us, sexual assault began on our way over here, on the boat,
On
right?
the boat and during slavery.
Yes, and especially during slavery, but it began on that boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so who could you go tell?
Mm-hmm.
Where was your protection?
There was none.
Right. And often it was the system who was victimizing you.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So historically, we have developed our own cultural ways of handling these issues in-house. Like, I don't know any black person who doesn't know this term. What goes on in the house?
Stays in the house.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Even if what goes on in the house is bad
Mm-hmm.
and horrible.
Right.
And what we know about sexual assault is 90%, especially with children, 90% of the offenders are someone who's known to the family, to the child. So it's not strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're often looking at family members or people. Do we want to turn them over to the system?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to handle it that way, or do we want to handle it in other ways?
Right.
Okay. And so we have to do some deconstructing and unpack some of our ways of responding to sexual assault. And then, because you never had a place to go with this place, we tend to blame ourselves. Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have been there. Maybe I shouldn't have been doing this. So I got what I deserved kind of messaging, internal
So
messaging.
you need to have you need to have a conversation that lets you know, no, it's not it's not your fault, not
Right.
necessarily, but it's not
It
your
is
fault.
not your fault.
Right. Okay.
And as a community, how do we hold offenders accountable?
Right. That's a very good question. Thank you for coming in and talking with us today, Sharon. We've been talking with Sharon Travis of the Sexual Assault Center, who's the Prevention and Community Engagement Specialist. And I've learned a lot today. I hope you have. And I hope during the month of April you spread the word. This is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and bring out the message.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.